Hello, Wanderers and Crypt Dancers, and welcome to the Writing Studio. Today, we are continuing a very special presentation in the Aura of the Soul series. This one's called The Aura of Dreams. Now, this particular show was a long time coming because after the Aura of the Soul took place on December 1st of 2020 with dark fantasy author Robert Cano, I contacted our guest today, Kathy Pickett, who is a spiritual intuitive and author of Spirit and Belief, which is available worldwide. And so she is the perfect guest for the Aura of Dreams and how they relate to the soul specifically.
Yes.
And so it was a long time running. I remember in January, we were thinking about having the show in January, and then everything went crazy and haywire, and we didn't have time to do the show. And then February was the same.
It was good too, because I had some health issues, so it was actually better that we postponed.
Yes, yeah, and then March, I did March with the writers.
Right.
That took all month. April was nuts, and then here we are in May. So
we finally are.
Here we are. So this is a long time coming. I know. So in terms of my own writing, you know, all of my books, with the exception of my nonfiction books, pretty much explore one big question, which in one way or another, whether it be like theme or whatever. And it is, what happens when we close our eyes for the last time? So I asked Robert this question when we kicked off the Aura of the Soul back in December, and I'm opening with you with the same question. I'm really interested to get your take on this.
Okay. You know, and I try to write stuff down, and then my writing just goes on and on and on.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So I'll just kind of like paraphrase what I wrote.
Okay.
And again, I want to preface just by saying that I think this is all centered around a belief system. So what somebody may believe may not equate with someone else's. And I think we all have our own maybe versions of that. And I have come to believe that, you know, the soul does go on. And again, other people may not, and that's okay. But how it goes on, I think is going to be different for all of us, because that transitional time, you know, it's confusing. You know, let's say, you know, you've left your body, and some people, maybe that's expected, maybe they know, but the people who don't, and think of little kids, or, you know, could go on. You're very confused. And so I believe that you're guided. You have either a guardian angel or some type of, you know, soul that is there, that is assisting you. I don't believe you're alone, even though people say sometimes if you physically die alone, but you don't spiritually die alone. And so there's always going to be some type of a connection that is going to help you and, you know, transition. But I also believe that your vision is going to be different. So if you believe, okay, you've passed and you want to see like that golden staircase, or you want to see, you know, God or whatever, then you will. But there's so many people out there who that's not a belief of them. Maybe they don't believe in a creator. Maybe they don't. Golden staircase, what's that? You know what I mean?
What do you think they might see?
Well, I think that it's very specifically tailored to you. I don't think it's a one size fits all. And I used to, because we're taught things, and that's okay, because those are just beliefs that are handed down. But I think if you don't have that, I've read different accounts of people where they just see swirling colors, they see light, they know that they're moving, they know that they're going somewhere. It's not like I say, it's like a physical destination. It's more of a feeling. And I think that's tough for people, because all of this it's all feeling. It's not always just seeing something physical.
What about the people who believe that when you die, you just die? You just cease to exist.
Yeah. And, you know, I think that's going to be their own terms with what would happen next, because none of us really have those answers. Like it's all belief. So it's a type of faith, whatever faith is. I don't believe faith is just centered to religion either. You believe in everything. Faith is faith. Like you can have faith in everything. So I can't really say, because that's going to be their journey. And those answers will be revealed to them when it's time. And it's all energy's everything, energy's everywhere. So how you are, you just really leave your body. Everything else comes with you. Your personality, if you have regrets, if you have other things that are about you, that all goes. It's just the body. But that's tough. My gosh, we're human. Our whole life is our body, and to have to give that up, that's just, you don't eat anymore. You don't need to sleep. You don't, yeah.
I think sometimes it can be hard to imagine the spiritual world when you're so used to the practical and the physical.
Exactly.
But now, go ahead.
I was just going to say, for people who are highly intuitive, maybe more so than me, they just have these other views on it. And I was told by my energy healer that I'm working with that, I think I told you this, but everybody else is going to know now, but 55% of me only comes back here, which means like up in the spirit world, whatever you want to call it, you call it afterlife, heaven, universe. The names never matter. The names are for us to make it easier. Like even the name God, and that, that's just so we can humanize things. So that explains a lot. I've been a very active dreamer since I was a child. And I'm thinking, well, kind of makes sense. It's overwhelming, the stuff that she said. But she said, do you ever wake up when you're still tired, or you're disoriented, or you're,
all the time.
And a lot of people do. And that explains it, because she says, oh my gosh, and this is something else, but she said, you go everywhere when you dream, you're on other planets, you are, and that could be another thing where people, and that's okay. They don't need to believe that. That's okay. Do
you think the soul kind of runs free then when we dream?
Absolutely. Yes.
So the soul then, essentially, when we're dreaming, leaves the body.
Yes.
On a temporary basis, and then experiences the spirit world.
Or wherever you want to go.
Interesting. Yeah. Because this is another thing, because I don't know if you've heard of author Thomas More.
I have, and you mentioned him before.
He actually wrote a whole bunch of books on a lot of these topics. And when I was researching this show, I came across a video on YouTube, a video clip from the Oprah Winfrey Network from 2015. And Oprah had opened up with a really interesting quote of Thomas More's. It says, your spiritual self was born in a dream. And in that dream, you are returning home. What do you think about that quote?
I think it's pretty darn accurate, actually, at least from my perspective, because that is our home. That's where we started, and that's where we will go. And I know that can also lead into, reincarnation and that type of topic, which I'm a believer in now. And that was never a belief system of mine. And I know that's a touchy topic, but I've been told specific things, and things that really have a lot to do with explaining why I do what I do, because it's nice to have some validation where it makes sense. But again, that's a whole nother, topic with people that can be very controversial.
Well, reincarnation is fascinating.
Yes.
And, when I think of things like Hinduism,
Oh yeah.
and everything where they believe that, that cows are sacred and everything. So
Right.
it's like, and then it also makes me think of like transmigration.
Yeah, and that was a word I don't really use. So I had to kind of look at that in comparison to like reincarnation and going, what is that,
Sure.
in reference to,
well, do you think, this just made me think of something else, because when you are dreaming, you are someone else or another creature. Could that possibly be experiencing a past life?
I think there are all these clues that we get in our, subconscious that sometimes they make sense and sometimes they don't. Everything is symbolism and metaphors, and it all stands for something else, like an archetype. I don't know if I've ever had a dream where, let's say, I've been an animal. I don't even have animals, really. Mine are very people-centered, very much so about that. Like, I don't believe with reincarnation either that we say things all the time that I love dogs. Well, that'd be like my husband. I'm outing him. Oh no, I was a dog in a past life or something.
I was a dog.
I know. See, and people will say that. I mean, and that's another thing. We don't really know, but I don't, because I do think there's differences between. Everything is sacred, like you said. Everything is.
Sure.
But I just think, the humans are humans and the animals are the animals. But you can still say, because you have that extreme love of dogs in a past life, maybe there's some connector there. Maybe you, we're a veterinarian, that's pretty basic, but something broader than that. Maybe you cared for animals in a different way. Maybe. So there's that makes you so in tune with dogs today. So I think that there's definitely connectors. But I think in dreams too, like, they're all lessons, just like life. This is Earth School. That's what people call it. This is school. And we're supposed to learn these lessons. And so I think the dreams teach us different aspects of ourselves. Some you can't even figure out. Now, most of mine I can. Like the couple even I talk about in here that had to do with warrior. I've had so many more.
Well, I know, like in your book, actually, talking about your book, you had mentioned that you got a lot of like feelings, and so, like when you talked about symbolism earlier, it made me think of something that's happened to me in my own life when you talk about flickering lights and coins.
Okay.
And I marked this because I wanted to discuss it today, and I figured this is a great time to bring it up. But this makes me think about our aunt. And so I know you know a lot of this story, but and just to let everybody know, Kathy is my cousin.
Yes.
I did not mention that.
You didn't.
Start, so we have two published authors in the
His mother is my dad's sister.
Yes. So it's a very creative family.
Yes.
So, but anyway, in early 2018, I was had started working on my novel, Ballet of the Crypt Dancer. And my parents were in town here in Florida. And during that time, our aunt got very sick and passed away. And so shortly after she passed, I got inspired for the Colonia novels. So there's two of them. There's The Arrival of Destiny and there's Battle of the Trinity. And I outlined them like in a fury over a couple of weeks. And I got like the entire plot of both novels, nearly 1,000-page story, like start to finish, in a few weeks. And it was right after our aunt's passing. And the interesting thing about that was that I remember my mother telling me how much she was a fan of my science fiction. And she says, I don't really care for your supernatural thrillers very much. That's what I was working on. I was working on Ballet of the Crypt Dancer, but I put Ballet of the Crypt Dancer away for 2 years and worked on Colonia. Interesting. Now, here's the interesting thing and where it ties into your book.
Okay.
Because towards the end of the project, towards the end of 2019, the books have been edited. They've been, you know, I've seen like the proof copies and everything like that. It's getting ready to release in a couple of weeks. I start seeing dimes.
Oh.
I start seeing dimes like here and there, like either I see one on my dresser. I see, back then I was bartending.
Yeah.
I see a dime like in the sink at the bar.
Okay.
You know, or something like that. And then I started thinking, and one of the other bartenders who was working there at the time with me knew what seeing that dime meant.
Oh.
And so I actually took a video back then. I was like, wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
You know, it could be somebody who you've lost saying hello or some form of appreciation. Yeah. So that's when I understood. And so when you had your story in here about coins, you had a special quarter and a special dime. You want to tell people about that?
Yeah. I mean, that's not, those were a couple cute little stories.
Sure.
They're not like my main sign. And some of the things that I heard about some people, the most bizarrest of places. And so what I started to do is and of course we all do this. And I was told, stop doing the rabbit hole stuff. Stop looking for that. But we have to find things out. And so I have a big thing with numbers and numerology. Like I don't follow it to the letter, but I follow it enough to connect things in my life. So like a dime, you have a 1 and you have a 0, and you know, 1, and you can look up anything that you want, because sometimes there's angel references, but then sometimes there's other more science definitions. And so you just read it based on what you want and what you get out of it. And so 1, well, that's, you know, one of the best numbers as far as like spirituality goes, because it's infinite. And in the circle, that's 0, so that never ends. And so that's like an infinity. And so that's great with a dime. And so when I found this quarter, and I never had read one story about that, because, you know, we just want validation. I always believed, because it was just so different. But that was the thing with me. My stuff was, I had a lot of traditional stuff, but not, you know, so much like out there. And so I couldn't find a quarter story. Most people, when they talk about the coins, it's pennies and dimes. And like that song, Pennies from Heaven, you know, there's that.
Sure.
That oldie but goodie song. But then there's no nickel stories really either. And so I never found one quarter story. And I thought, but you know what? I looked at the significance, and like quarters are different because they got the states on them. Sure. So you can look at that as some kind of reference, or like, and anything like the year might mean something to you.
Okay. Sure.
You know, so there's those kind of things. And I just shared those couple of little stories because I wanted to put other things out there that I knew other people were experiencing, even though it wasn't really a huge sign of mine. But like my dime story, finding it in the rain. The dime is the smallest.
I know, it's one of the hardest to find.
Right? And finding it when I'm getting in the van and the light from illuminated that. And I hadn't really had a lot with the coins, but because I was reading about it as, you know, as something that would happen. Lights back then were my biggie. And I get the feathers. And I still get some of those.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think about feathers, because I see feathers. I actually have a feather right here.
I should have brought some of mine down. Oh, okay.
A really nice one that I found just laying outside.
It looks like a goose.
Yeah? Okay. Yeah. But when I see a feather like this, I always keep it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's, you know, I found it for a reason.
Yeah.
And I've always felt that they were like luck. Or you know, something, or someone's trying to communicate something to you.
Right.
So,
And you can look those up, and that's why I have like the blue jay on the front of mine, because
mhm,
as the story goes, I had read about all this, and there different colors can mean
sure.
different things. And I don't pick up all of them anymore. I only pick up the few that like, well, Blue Jays, I'll always pick up those, or Cardinals, or like around here we have the Hawks,
Mm.
or the turkey vultures and that. But a robin one, I'll just pick it up, make a wish, and blow it away.
What do you feel about sometimes seeing those birds? Because I know I've heard seeing like a red cardinal
Yeah.
can be possibly some sort of a symbolism or sign.
Yeah, and that's been going around forever, that
Mhm.
people say the cardinals are signs of our loved ones, and they can't, it's whatever it is to you. Now, if you see them all the time, or you have a bunch of feeders,
Mhm.
sometimes they're just eating. you know,
Yes.
I don't want to burst bubbles. I don't want people to think, if they want to see it and say, because my grandpa was well into cardinals, my mom's dad, and so when we'd see one, we'll think of him or whatever. But
Yeah.
like the couple stories in my book, they were really bizarre what they were doing. And I looked up cardinals. Cardinals are very skittish, which a lot of birds are, but some aren't. They're as tame as whatever. But cardinals, they will just fly away anytime. So
Sure.
the ones in the stories in my book, they were very, very tame, and they stopped what they were doing and they make eye contact, and they'll start to recognize you. Like if you go out and you feed them, they'll start to know the people who do that. But these birds were just the weird things they were doing, chirping really loud, and cardinals are loud. So cardinals are the first ones up in the morning, and they're the last ones to go to bed at night. And so you'll hear them and stuff, but
Nice.
just where they were landing, where they were perching. And I was starting to connect that. But then you think you're crazy. Like, come on, I'm not talking to a bird. What's that? But what it is, this is something else I think people maybe are conflicted on.
Mhm.
It's not like if you're going to associate it with someone who's passed away, okay, it's not really them. It's their energy that they're putting into
Sure.
the animal to get you to notice that there's something you need to notice. And it could just be an awareness. We're always searching for some deep message, which there could be a message, but there may not. It just might
Well,
be, hi, I'm here.
that's
I'm visiting you.
interesting that you
Yeah.
bring up energy again. You brought it up earlier, and it makes me want to ask you a question actually that we discussed on the Aura of the Soul, the first chapter.
Okay.
Had to do, I actually was researching that show, and I watched a documentary called The Science of the Soul. And it actually covered an experiment that they had. It's called the 21 grams experiment.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of that or not, but it is actually an experiment that took place in Boston. Pretty sure, or somewhere in Massachusetts. I don't remember exactly because it's been a while. I'm reaching back to December here. But basically what the research doctors and stuff did is they weighed people's bodies right before death and right after death.
Okay, I think I have heard of this now.
Of 21 grams.
Yeah.
And so the theory was that that is the weight of the soul. So if the soul has physical weight, in that energy, can science measure something like that? Or, I don't even know, like, because when you're talking about energy, I was thinking about that, like, interesting. You brought up energy again, but like, is that the weight of energy? But it's just something to think about, I guess.
Right.
It's fascinating.
I don't have an answer. Right. There's always going to be all of that out there, I think. And people, what I love is that these kinds of topics are becoming more and more, I want to say mainstream, but, not certain, but where years ago, this was so taboo. And in some ways, I think it still is for a lot of people because they're so, maybe closed-minded. And that's what all of this has done for me. is it just opened up so many more ways. And it's not like I abandoned everything I was taught. I just expanded it and just thought, you know what? Okay, I have this, but then there's this.
Sure.
I believed this and I was taught this way because it gets handed down, and that's generational. That's what we are. But then there's other ways. And I was starting to look at it like, it's not right or wrong. You know, it's not, it's just different. And it doesn't mean that, you know, that person, you know, doesn't share. It's just, you want to just open up more and find out. And that's what it was for me. Like I had things years ago that were little things, but I didn't really connect them because I thought that's just what happened, you know, or I'd have a dream about somebody and then it became like jokes like, hey, guess who I had a dream about, you know, and you just talk about it, but you don't realize the significance. And when I had stuff, even my kids were really little, but I always accepted and I always believed, but it didn't stay with me then. So it was probably like a little seed, like, yeah, you're going to get this years later. And I think that's how it was. And like when you talked about Aunt Judy passing and how that was just like so shocking. And
sure. It was sudden.
Yeah. And how things are. And I felt a little different, even though we're so shock value. It's just, you know, but then I think to myself, even though that was brief for her, you know, we've all said things like this, like, I'd rather have it that way in a way than suffering a long illness and just going on and on, you know? And so, you know, that just opens up a whole nother like discussion about all that. But, you know, but energy is just, it's everything and it's everywhere. And you're going to feel it different ways than other people who may not. But I think you have to be in alignment with it. It's a vibration. So some people are not, like the dreams and stuff. You know, we know people who say, well, I don't dream, you know, everyone really does. You just don't remember. So some people are more inclined to remember.
That is something good to say, because I was going to ask you, like, if we always dream like every night, even if we don't remember it.
I believe that we do. Because like we talked about with your soul going astral traveling, wherever you're going, whatever you're doing. And I just know even when I was really little, I had a hard time going to sleep. And it wasn't like the whole monsters under the bed or the fear of sleeping. No, I wanted to go to sleep. Sure. I had anxiety, and my mom might even remember, she used to have to come in and like rub my belly and stuff. And I remember that. And I just couldn't get my brain to settle for sleep. And I tried all these things, and I always thought the counting sheep thing was ridiculous. I don't know where that even came. I thought that was odd.
Yeah, I've never counted sheep. No. I just, you know.
Never.
Yeah, I've had my share of sleepless nights as well. Right. I don't know if it's something that you just feel like so active and connected to the physical world right now. Maybe you're not ready for the spiritual world at that time, or who knows? Yeah,
it's different for everyone. And I know when I was little, what I started to do, and I think this just intuitively came here. I started just thinking of things that I liked or that I like to do. And nowadays we'd say, like, you're saying a mantra or something. Like I would say, like, you know, riding my bike and coloring or whatever I did. And eventually I would drift off to sleep. And then as time went on, another thing I started doing, and maybe this is a factor for me with the dreams, I started putting myself in dreams. And I would just go wherever, you know, I wanted. And back then too, it was like TV shows. So if you liked a TV show, I'd put myself in it as like a friend of whoever's, like the characters, and you're everything. Like creatively now, we're the writer, we're the producer, we're the director, we're all of it, you know, until we get out of control. And I've actually had that happen in a couple of dreams, like with lucidity. But just like, you know, you're following your own script, but then all of a sudden something happens, and I actually would like find myself thinking, wait, that's not what I was going to do. So the plot switches. But that really helped me. To just kind of get myself ready for sleep. I would put myself in a dream type of sequence and go there. And so maybe that was something that manifested for me years later.
Sure.
And when I started having the spirit visit dreams from people.
Well, that's a good question. That's actually interesting you bring that up about spirit visiting.
Yeah.
You told me that you had a dream about our aunt.
Well, it was grandma.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I got that wrong.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, we were talking about her, but yeah. And I don't have them about, let's say, every person that you would know that that passes. Warrior's very different. So I have a lot of different ones about him. Because I never had one about my other grandma. And I think it's because I saw her a lot near the end and I could just hear her saying, you don't need one. You visited me, you saw me. But with our grandma Schrader, very different. I didn't see her the last several years of her life because of the dementia. I would talk to her on the phone. We used to write letters. So that's funny. Yeah, and I forgot about that. I'm like, I
used to write letters back and forth with our aunt for years.
Okay. So
for years, we were pen pals.
Oh,
and then when I got published, she started reading my books. And, you know, and
you got that connection.
Yeah, so we had that connection, and like, you know, she was a big reader of my science fiction. She loved it. And so when she passed, I think that had something maybe to do with the inspiration that just hit me for Colonia. She's like, don't work on this right now. Work on it.
Right. And that's how it works. That's how it works. Yeah. You get that inspiration. But this dream of hers, she was in probably the nursing home that she was in. And I don't know.
Schrader.
Yes, Grandma Schrader. And so I'm in this dream. I went to visit her and your mom was there because she would be there every day. And so we go to see her and she wanted to go. And again, there's always going to be some things I think that might seem out of place or don't make sense. And then they maybe will later, or they won't for me, but then I'll ask some questions of somebody else. And so anyway, she wanted to go to the ocean. Very insistent. No, you're going to check me out. So she was kind of with it enough to know we're going to the ocean. And your mom's like, no, we're not going. She was incredibly insistent. So we did. And I'm going, okay. And then I had to figure that out because I'm going where she was. That wasn't anywhere probably near the ocean. That's probably a couple hours away. Like, I don't know. I didn't know in the dream. And I'm like, okay, I guess we're going to the ocean. So we went to the ocean and she just took off. I mean, whatever she had ran in the water, literally ran in the water, was probably waist high, and it splashed, and we didn't follow her in. We just stayed on the shore. And we're just laughing at her, and she's splashing, laughing, that big laugh that she had, hearty laugh, loving it. And we're just going, okay, I guess she's just in the water, in her clothes, whatever. We're just doing what she wants.
Right.
And then after a while, it was time to go, and your mom's like, come on, Mom, it's time to come.
Right.
And she wouldn't come, and we couldn't get her to come out. And the waves are going, and she's just having the time of her life.
Really interesting.
Well, here's what my take on it was. Because then I wake up and I'm like...
And I have a take on that. I want to see if our takes are the same.
Okay. So I didn't really know. And when I had asked your mom, she said, first of all, that I don't know if it was every summer, but they had they went to the lake and they had this place they went to when they were kids. But it wasn't the ocean. It was the lake.
Right.
And so, yeah, but it was not the ocean. And I remember my dad talking a little bit about that. Oh, yeah, we went every year, blah, blah, blah. So my take, I wanted to take it like, okay, spiritually, but why am I getting this? So again, it didn't really have anything to do with me.
Did you have that dream? I'm sorry to interrupt, but did you have that dream after she passed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It was about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months after.
Okay, because I almost interpret that a little bit differently.
Okay.
Because I almost see, because I've always had this spiritual connection with the ocean, which is something that to me, it's like almost like infinity.
Yeah, that was my next point. That's exactly what I thought. So that's funny because when I saw her, that's the grandma that I remembered. Sure. Having fun, laughing. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's so vast. The ocean to me represented heaven for her. So that was my take when I woke up. And I felt really good because all these dreams, I wake up on it. Some I'm a little confused. Some I laugh hysterically. But this one, it was like peaceful where I woke up and thought, oh, maybe I was shown a
Oh,
little glimpse into how heaven, because the ocean
could have.
is the same thing. It's vast and
Absolutely.
whatever you see the literalness, but it's still the metaphorical aspect of I'm here, but I'm having fun. I'm laughing, I'm being me, but it never ends. Like it doesn't seem like it ends. But like I said, we couldn't get her out. And I think I just woke up after that. There was never any.
Well, that is a fascinating dream. I had not heard about it until you just told me now. And I think it's unbelievable. I think it's an amazing representation of maybe her spirit moving on. And interesting, one real quick, because we only have a couple minutes left.
Oh, wow.
I know. But so after she passed, my mother told me the story that she had gotten a phone call at like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
And she picked it up. It was like static. She could barely hear the voice coming through the phone. It was like a really horrible connection. I was like, but an hour later, she got the call that she had passed. So interesting thing about that, and like I said, we only have about 2 minutes or so to touch on. However, this has been an amazing show.
Yeah.
And so, last week I went and did the haunted video exploration.
Yes.
You saw, we chatted about a little bit like that.
Yes.
So, I had some interesting experiences and everything when I was on that video. But do you believe in ghosts?
I do, but I don't like that term. So I like spirits. I like the word spirit better.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's just me. I do, but I don't think it's the way that it's perceived for a lot of people.
Do you think there are spirits here in our realm that are maybe stuck or don't know, like, because I remember you mentioned earlier in the show that you said talking about possibly the spirits of like someone who didn't know they were dead, like a child or something like that. I'm just curious. This is like an extra bonus question. We've already went through our questions.
Yeah, we didn't get to that one. I do because I've read some books on that, and there's some people who are experts in that field and who, like this one woman, I can't think of her name. Marianne Winkowski came to me. So she was native to this area, and she had these gifts when she was a little girl. And, so she validates all this stuff. And she actually does that work where if if they're stuck for whatever reason, she helps them get into the light. But and she'll say, there's a reason why bars, how funny, because you'd work about why they always say that, like they say, and spirits. Because she says the large congregational places is where they will be, because they feed off of people's energies. So you're not going to find them in, places where there's not a lot of that. It has to be big groups of people, but it's not to be feared. And I think that's probably a misconception. People think, oh my God, they're around us. But no, I don't think so. I think they're just attached. Maybe they didn't want to go. There's other reasons why. It's not for us to know, but I do believe in that. Yes.
Nice. Everybody, thank you for watching the Aura.
Thank you,
Kathy. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Such a great time.
It's a spiritual intuitive.
Yes.
And this is her book, Spirit and Belief. It's available worldwide. I know it's on Amazon. That's where I got it.
It is.
There it is. And
it is about more like a celebrity, but that's
sure.
But people are people. And there's a definite reason.
Exactly.
There's a definite reason why this is connected with me.
Okay.
Because I have that.
What's your website? Because we're almost finished.
It's just the title of the book. It's spiritbelief.com.
Perfect.
But you can also find me at mywarriorwritings.com, where I write a blog about him. I do 2 blogs a week. I have 2 international blogs. So Spirit Belief is more of the spiritual aspects of things. But my warrior writings is more connected with him. So you can find me there. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I have a YouTube channel. So I'm out there.
Well, thank you again, Kathy. Thank you, Wanderers and Crypt Dancers, for watching The Aura of Dreams. And again, I'm A.L. Mengel. You can find me while you're watching this on my page, so you found me. Anyway, almengel.com. My books are everywhere. So stay in touch with us, and
Yes.
we welcome, any messages to our page and everything like that. Thank you again, and see
Thank
you on
you.
the next show.